Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies, where tonight we will continue with part 2 of NCMC Lady Pirates basketball head coach Jenni Croy, filling up the record books. As of this release date for this second part, Jenni and her NCMC Lady Pirates team are an 11 seed and preparing for their 4th straight NCAA National Tournament. In part 1, we were joined by Hall of Fame coach Herb Webster, and Jenni explained how Coach Webster attempted to motivate her Kearney team.
We met on a Saturday and we were going to scrimmage the JV girls or something. And so we're all at the gym, we're scrimmaging, and the JV team's beating us. And he literally lost his mind and sent us to the locker room, told us not to come out until we were ready to play. You need to be better than what you're playing. You know, all the good coaching advice that you say when you're mad. And we go in the locker room and one of our upperclassmen was like, okay, we got this. We're ready. We're going to go out there ready. So we were all pumped up, got refocused, headed out to the court, rounded the corner, and we're like, we're ready, coach. And he was like, no, you're not ready. Get back in. We didn't realize we weren't ready till he was ready for us to be ready. That's how that worked. So, yeah, it was just one of those experiences.
While Coach Webster was not ready for his team to reappear on the court and continue play, Jenni was ready for her post-high school career after becoming the all-time leading scorer at Kearney High School and helping her team to a quarterfinal appearance in her senior season. We pick up part 2 with Jenni's recruitment to play college ball. When you graduated from high school, you were a basketball player.
Right.
And you had a lot of credentials. What was the recruiting process like? What was in your mind? How did you end up at Pitt State?
You know, you get a lot of letters from different coaches and went on some visits. But what stood out to me, my college coach was Coach Steve High. He was at Pittsburg State, I believe, for 17, 18 years. And so he wrote me a handwritten letter. You get all these form letters sent, you know, where you figure they probably just change the name at the top, mail it out, you know, change the name on the envelope, mail it out. And then I got this letter one day in the mail, and it was a completely handwritten letter and really stood out to me, talking about watching me play at the Show Me games. I had a terrible game, couldn't hit anything. Game went into overtime. Shooters got to shoot. So I didn't quit shooting because I wasn't hitting. So I kept shooting, and we ended up winning that game, and I ended up hitting shots in overtime. And so he wrote about that in the letter. So I thought, this guy knows who I am. Well, come to find out, I go to my parents and I'm like, hey, this Pittsburg State coach wants to come on a home visit and then wants me to come down on a visit, campus visit as well. Well, little did I know, you know, as high school kids, I don't know how much kids talk to their dads, you know, really get in-depth conversation with their dads. For all I knew, my dad had been in Kearney, Missouri his whole life. That's what I thought. So when I bring up Pittsburg State University, he says, I grew up in Pittsburg, Kansas till I was 13. And I was like, what? Who are you? Like, who are you? I had no idea. And which is crazy. But so my dad was so excited that I think for me to go down for him to return down there as well and see how much had changed and what it was like. But I went down there on a visit and just absolutely fell in love with the place. I tell kids all the time when we bring them to campus here that you know when the fit is right. You know when it feels right when you walk on campus. And so it just felt like home to me. And that's basically how I ended up down there. Just the connection probably with my dad helped a ton, but just that coach knowing who I was and sending that letter.
Excellent. I mean, it's nice when it's not a straight path, but a path, and you can see it and you know you should be on that path.
Right. And I think confusion. I've been very blessed and fortunate because even like you go way back to middle school, I played for the same coach for 7th and 8th grade. Go to high school, I had the same coach all 4 years. Went to college, had the same coach all 4 years. And so that doesn't happen a lot in places. And so I was very fortunate with that.
So you hit the floor running, basically. I mean, you're all MIAA as a
well. I don't know if I have a weird mindset or if I have. So when I went to Pitt my freshman year, we had one senior on our team, and she had started, and we played the same position. And so I That's fine. I mean, I don't expect to be given a spot or anything like that. And so I came off the bench, and I'm just that type of player where I want to be out there the whole 40 minutes. I don't want to come off the bench. I don't want to be on the bench, period. And that was my mindset. And I guess that's my motivation as a player. And so I know the first game we had, I came off the bench, and I believe I had 28 points off the bench, and then I'd started from the second game on. And so even to the point on senior night, my freshman year, he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to start Shelly in your spot." And I said, "Absolutely, that's fine." And Shelly said, "Absolutely not." She said, "You're not going to do that just because I'm a senior. If I'm going to start, I'm going to earn the spot." And so I kind of felt bad. Her parents were probably a little upset about that. But I guess that was just my mentality. I didn't want to, I didn't ever settle as a player, I guess, but I also put a lot of time in. So it takes a lot of practice to be able to shoot the ball well. So
in the It's a Small World department, I probably watched you play numerous times and didn't even know it.
Right.
As I worked at Central Missouri State every home game for 3 years at the multi.
Oh, I'm sure you did. We never played well down there. I have a lot of bitter.
Go Jennies.
Oh, no.
Oh, and you had to play a team called the Jennies.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
No, my story about down there was Rick Glidewell, who I believe was a teacher here in Trenton and a football coach of my husband's at one point in time, was our official when we played down there. And if you know Rick Glidewell, which you're from Trenton, you do. He wasn't a very tall guy. And so our coach was about 6'4". He's a bigger guy. And game isn't going as it should. And our coach did worry about the refs a lot in college. That was something he did worry about. And he did not like Rick Glidewell. I mean, he did not. Well, we go in the locker room at halftime, and he is just going crazy about Rick Glidewell and probably saying some things he shouldn't. We come out at halftime, and the refs were in the connecting locker room right next to us. So we started the half immediately. First word out of his mouth, he was teed up. And I was like, this isn't going to be good. So I struggled. We struggled to play well.
I don't know if you remember a player named Rachel Matekas.
Absolutely.
So Rachel Matekas, I had a class with her. I think it was like ancient Greece or something, really hard class, and I helped her a lot with it. And,
you could have not, and then she wouldn't have been.
Well, she came to class one day and gave me a pair of basketball shoes because we had the same size feet because she was so big. And she said, "Here, this is for helping me." And I just thought that was the coolest thing that ever happened to me in college, was a college basketball player gave me one of her probably 10 pairs of shoes that she got from the team. Yeah,
she was a really good player. I do
good.
remember her.
Yeah. Small world department.
So you go to the national tournament 2 years, but in between you win the conference, but don't go to the national tournament. There must have been a disappointment in that.
MIAA is, the MIAA is probably one of the toughest conferences in Division II, if not the toughest conference, especially in women's basketball, I feel like. And it was loaded back then as well. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, you can win your conference. I think we were played at Rolla. It was we were down there at Rolla playing. Well, they weren't Missouri S&T back then. I don't know what they were.
UMR.
Yes, University of Missouri Rolla. And I think we lost that game. Had we won, we would have won the conference outright. But we lost, and so we had to share the conference title. And so, yeah, that was disappointing. And then what happens with Division II? You all get thrown into your region tournaments, all the same schools you played all conference. And so you're seeing those teams 3-4 times throughout the year. It's crazy. Yeah, we were able to get it done, I believe, my sophomore and senior year, those 2 years. And then
seems like they'd always put those in pods, and thered be like 3 MIAA teams and an Oklahoma team.
You're right.
That's the only difference. They just had to throw in one Oklahoma team in there.
Well, you just kept doing your thing. You had 1,809 points, second all-time in women's college basketball in three-point shots made, 300.
My college teammates, 364. My college teammates remind me of that all the time. They call me one short, is what they used to call me.
It ended up being one short?
One short of the all-time record. And so, you go back in your mind at UCM. They called 3 seconds in the lane on a made three. I hit a three, and my post player got called 3 seconds in the lane, so it got waved off. So I'm going to blame the Jennies on that one. No, I'm kidding. That did happen. True story. But Yeah, 364. And that wasn't lack of, my teammates were phenomenal. In that last game, we were at Missouri Western my senior year playing in the first round of the tournament, and we were facing Abilene Christian. They played a matchup zone. Of course, every no matter what side of the floor I went down, their 6'2" long as can be girl was on my side of the 3-2 zone every time. She was on the wing. I'm like, why is she on a wing? Like, why is she underneath? And I think it really was, I mean, to try to make me adjust my shot, which little did they know, I think it just made me get better arch and then went in more. So that last game, I think I needed 11, might be wrong, I needed 11 to tie it, and I had 10 possibly, or needed 10 to tie, and I had 9. Anyway, it wasn't for lack of trying, and we ran this play called designated shooter, and it was basically just screen for Jenni, get her open, get her the ball, and let her shoot. So I think at that point we knew it, I don't know, partway through the second half that we probably weren't going to win the game, and then he just called designated shooter. So my teammates are to credit for getting me the ball because they did that a lot and set a ton of screens to get me open because we really didn't have a set play for a 3 at all. It was...
Well, not to age us, but the 3-point line hadn't been around that
No.
long. Like I can remember in junior high, them painting the line over the summer in our gym thinking, this is going to change everything.
Right. My sister claims she would have been the all-time leading scorer at Kearney had they had a 3-point line. But, in high school, our goal was 1 3-point shot. Our goal was to shoot 1 3-point shot a game because it had just begun. And so I didn't really pay attention to the 3-point line in high school. Travel ball, yes. I mean, we just let it fly. And then college, I didn't take many 2-point shots. I was behind. I mean, all I had to do was run
Why?
3-point line to 3-point line.
You only get 2 points for those.
That's
What's the point
well,
of
I
that?
figured if my girl scored 2 and I scored 3, I was ahead.
That's right.
I predate the 3-point line, and yet my basketball IQ being what it was, I shot a lot of shots from that part of the floor because I was more comfortable.
You wouldn't be a good
That's
StatCast example these days.
No. I grew up watching the Knicks and Jerry Lucas, and he used to take the post players of the day, the Wilts of the world, and take them out 30 feet from the back and try to drag them out
We
there.
tell those girls on our team, there's a reason you're open out there.
Right.
So there might have been a reason.
So the evolution of that shot, I am assuming, and I don't know, but that record has probably been broken.
Oh,
now
yeah. I don't know
because
where I
the
sit.
volume they shoot now is insane on the threes because of advanced metrics, and you get an extra point and that kind of thing. So those records, I think I heard the other night that the NBA now is averaging 75 attempts a game
Wow.
between both teams.
Well, Jerry Lucas, they asked him why he never shot layups. He goes, to me, that's a layup.
Hey.
If you've got the right rhythm,
Yeah.
you're open,
Oh, for sure.
Let it fly.
Let it fly.
Coming out of college, talk about your early career and what led you to Trenton, Missouri.
Well, out of college, I did my student teaching. Well, actually, let me rewind. My husband came to Kearney as a teacher and a coach, and my sister had met him. She was also a teacher at the time. And so they did a golf tournament. The teachers down there used to do a golf tournament to start the year. She was paired up with him. So I meet this guy named Wes Croy because my sister met him and wanted to introduce me. He was there as a football coach. I thought, he's in my hometown. He's going to stay in my hometown forever. And so Wes and I dated for 2 years and then got engaged my senior year of college. And as soon as we got engaged, I believe he resigned that spring from Kearney.
We're moving to Schuyler County.
We're moving to Maysville.
Oh, Maysville. I thought it was Schuyler County.
He was at Schuyler before he came to Kearney.
Okay.
So we were going to move to Maysville. And so actually, I should rewind a little bit. We got engaged. He was looking for a head coaching job. He was an assistant at Kearney. Applied at a school down by Pittsburg on the Missouri side, Liberal, I believe. And I thought he was going to take that job. Coach High had approached me to be the grad assistant with thoughts that maybe I could get into the assistant coaching job there. I was so excited. My dad was extremely excited about that. And Wes also interviewed at Maysville, and I believe the day he was supposed to drive down for a second interview at Liberal, Maysville called him and offered the job, and he took it. And so I then had to go tell Coach High that I'm getting married. We're going to be living in Maysville. So I did my student teaching at Maysville and passed up that opportunity at Pittsburg State, but everything happens for a reason. But we ended up at Maysville. I was an assistant coach at Union Star when I student taught under Chad Ellifritz. Chad was the head coach at Union Star. And so I did my student teaching at Maysville, coached at Union Star, landed a job at Maysville teaching math, and then I got their head coaching job the next year. Was at Maysville 3 years, probably didn't have a clue what I was doing. As a young coach, you try to do things that were done how they were done when you played, and I tried to mimic that, tried to get involved in younger kids programs and try to help the high school program in that way too. And then we moved to Bethany. So Wes took a coaching job at South Harrison. So then they had a job for me at South Harrison. I was never a head coach. I was just an assistant under Teresa Hunsaker.
Boo.
Bad memories for Chris. And so
some good, one bad.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was tough. So learned a lot under Teresa Hunsaker. Really, really did. Learned a lot under her. And I coached everything at South Harrison, from football, cheerleading, to cross country, to middle school basketball, to high school assistant basketball, track, you name it. I was coaching it. And then 4 years at South Harrison, then we came to Trenton. And so Wes took his job at Trenton as the head football coach. I interviewed for a math job. At that time, they had no coaching openings. And so I thought it was fine. That's fine. I had 2 little kids at the time. Lathan and Salem were 4 and 6. And so I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to, put my kids first and be a mom. And it was weird walking out of school at 3:30 and not having anything to do. And so the following year, I was at a track meet, and some of the college girls were at the track meet as well. And I had coached them at South Harrison. So Megan Doty was one of them.
And Tiffany Graham and Megan Doty, yeah.
Yep. So they asked me when I was going to have them over for dinner. So I invited them over for dinner. They came to the house, and Megan said, "Hey, our assistant coach is leaving." I think Greg Keith might have been the assistant coach at the time at the college. And
when James Arnold head coach.
James was the head coach. And I knew nothing. I will be honest. I knew nothing about NCMC. Nothing. I had never stepped foot on campus. I didn't know much about community college or junior college basketball. Nothing. And so she talked to me about it. So she must have given my number to James. He called. I went and met with him. We, talked about it. I don't know how it would work. Thankfully, a great admin at Trenton R9 at the time. So they worked with me and allowed me to free up my afternoon, later in the afternoon, have some playing time. And it worked out that I could be an assistant coach at the college and still teach at the high school. So did that for a year. And then James Arnold resigned that spring. We went to the national tournament, had a great, phenomenal year.
One of my favorite teams ever. That team was loaded, and it had some Trenton and South Harrison kids on it.
It did. And such a balanced team too. Like you don't have that very often. They were easy to coach, fun to watch. And so, then James resigned, and I didn't really think about being the head coach at all. I just thought, well, I don't know what'll happen. And my classroom phone rang one morning, and it was Dr. Nuttall, the president of the college at the time. And he said, "James Arnold just resigned. Would you like to be the next head coach?" And I said, there's no way. I was pregnant at the time with Kagan. I said, I'm going to have a third child. Wes is coaching. There's just no way. And he said, you need to think about this. And so he said, I'll give you a couple days to think about it. You call me back. And so he said I would have to teach 9 hours, and that would be a full load, and then I would be coaching. And so thought about it, decided I'd go ahead and apply. What the heck? And up at the college, to interview for a teaching job, you have to do a teaching demo in front of a classroom full of people. That's stressful when you're 9 months pregnant. And so got through the whole interview process, and then ended up getting the job. And boy, am I glad that he called my classroom and I took that chance.
And the rest is history, as they say.
It's history. So you have success. You're going along, but you can't recreate that 06, 07 for a little while.
Right.
And then you get to that 13, 14 year.
Right. Well, and I think, college coaching, especially at the junior college, is tough with recruiting. you want to get those local kids that are good in the area, but then you also have to get yourself out there and kind of get out of your own comfort zone and go after kids that you don't see and don't hear about all the time. And you got to go after them and aggressively. And so I think early on I probably had no idea, to be honest, what I was doing recruiting. It's a lot of people calling you, people, hey, there's a kid here I think you need to look at, or hey, I've got a player. It's a lot of trust in other people's judgment, I guess. And then that 13-14 team, we didn't have the best record. I think we were, I don't even know, 14, and we didn't have a great record, I think. And so, but they had what it took and that competitive edge to get them, that region championship and that opportunity to advance on. And so that was a fun group. I feel like that kind of set the tone. We had a couple bad years shortly after that. But I don't expect that to happen again. So
you seem to be in a groove. COVID hits,
yeah,
and it changes a lot of things that you have to do, and you kind of have to on the fly make some choices. And you had a recruiting class, and then you were able to add Macy Moore into that recruiting class because of the season not starting on time,
which was crazy. And so that was a hard, being the college here in town, watching Macy grow up. And I'd never even crossed my mind that she could join us that semester. I never even approached her to graduate early from high school to be able to do that. So COVID was a weird time. And she actually reached out to me and said, I don't even know if we'll have a season. Like, I don't even know if this is going to happen. And I don't want to risk that if I could come and play. And I'm thinking, absolutely would love to have you. However,
you're also a Trenton
Bulldog.
Yeah.
You are one of Coach Cool's, best players, or the best player on that court who he has to have. And so God bless Coach Cool. We had a great conversation and he said, this is where she needs to be. She needs to be with you. And for a coach to say that and be okay with that, that he had the best interest of Macy at heart and not his own interest. And so, she came and blossomed into one of the best players that we've had at that position.
And what happens in sports sometimes is those 2 years after, Coach Cool takes that group and they become good.
Right.
And that was fun to watch too.
Absolutely.
So sometimes if you do the right thing, then good things happen on both ends.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely.
I had the pleasure of coaching Macy as a youth. And people go, what is it about her that's so good? I go, her hands. I go, every ball that gets to her, it's like sticks to her hands.
Yeah.
There's no fumbling it. There's no, which allows her to quickly get it back up on the board.
That's something we look at now constantly when we're looking for post players. Can they catch the ball like Macy Moore? Like, she's the kid you compare every kid underneath to, because she could catch, go up and get it and go finish, and could read the rebound. That's something that's not a learned trick. That's a knack. Like, she could read that ball off the rim, no matter where it was shot from. She was tracking that ball the whole time. And so just a natural at that.
Well, you had Ford and Hibner, so you had your 3-point shooters.
Right.
And you had somebody with glue.
Yeah.
In the middle. It was quite a run. And then you get an extra year of eligibility.
Which was amazing. Wish we did it all the time. I wish we were a 4-year. I say that all the time. Man.
They leave now anyway. It doesn't matter.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we were very fortunate. So Nora Ford from Hamilton was our point guard. We had Macy underneath the basket. And then Kennedy Crow is another kid who played at Norburn High School. And those three kids kept talking about maybe their third year. And I think Macy and Nora was a if you stay, I'll stay type of deal. And then it was up to Leslie and I to convince them that they needed to stay. And so,
and find the classes that they could take.
Right.
And
so, what we can do, or what we did, is we do have a lot of different certificates that they can achieve. And so, you got to leave them one class short so they can't graduate, and then you add in the certificate and just kind of build that up a little bit. And so we were so thankful that those three decided to stay for that third year. They were all three of them ended up scoring their 1,000 point that year, which is crazy to have three kids that score 1,000 points on a team together. So in 3 years.
Excellent. It was great to go through a crazy time and have that continuity that you usually don't have at all
Right.
in junior college
Right.
with a team.
Oh, that's what Leslie and I would talk about. Like, we could not even be on the floor and they would have practice started because they knew exactly what we did and how to begin. Like, they just knew it was their program and they took ownership of it. And 3 years of eligibility would be a great thing to have it at the community college level, but it's not there yet, but maybe someday. But yeah, we were thankful to have those kids.
What other things about NCMC, about the Trenton community, about your situation having Leslie as a long-term assistant and the administration support and so on and so forth? What are the things that are the key component that make it work for you on an ongoing basis? I mean, you've been doing this for years, but for it to stay at this high level, it takes a team of people.
Does. It does. It does take a team of people. And we've had a change in administration from where I started and where we are now. The new ones that have joined us have bought into what NCMC is. And so, I think NCMC is a staple in this community. And a lot of communities or community colleges don't have the sense of community that we do. For instance, we just went up and played this past Saturday in Lincoln, Nebraska at a community college. It was their sophomore day. We're getting ready to run in the gym and the girls look at me and they go, this is their sophomore day and this is all that's here. I'm like, yeah, you guys have no idea how lucky you are.
Because you would think, right, in a town like Lincoln, a college town with plenty of support for the university there, that you would get that
crowd,
support.
yeah.
But NCMC is unique in that fact. It's almost like a high school atmosphere.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And that's what, like the other day when we played Jefferson, that gym was packed. I mean, it was wall to wall people. The bleachers were packed. There wasn't hardly any open spots, to the point I went upstairs and took a picture real quick right after our game just to capture what that crowd looked like. And we don't get that when you play other places. It's not like that. And so just the support we have, from Nate Gammett, our athletic director, Dr. Claver, the support that they give to our athletic programs is huge. And so when kids come here, I think they feel that they're a part of something special. And it's just that sense of community, that you belong, that you're important. And so I think, it's a good place for kids to come get their career started. Our instructors are so supportive of our students as well. And it takes everybody involved, like you said, to kind of build that sense of community. And I think we have that right now.
Talk about your team. You've turned the page from those 3-year players and you're moving on, and you've kept that level up high. Talk about this year's team and what your hopes are as you wind up the season. Now, by the time we publish this, the season could be done, but what have you seen in the growth in your team this year that's got you feeling good about it?
So, we're pretty balanced as far as seven sophomores and 7 freshmen. And so our sophomore leadership is really big this year. They've really stepped up and taken ownership of this team. Jessica Reeder out of Chillicothe is our point guard and our leading scorer. And so she is kind of that, she sets the tone each practice. She's not extremely vocal, but vocal when she needs to be vocal. And so, I think our sophomore leadership has been good this year. We're heading into the end of our season right now. Jefferson College is a team that we're going to have to get through to win our region. And so we beat them by 4 at our place. And I think we're going to have to play well when we go down there, obviously. But then we host the region tournament at the end of February, 1st of March. And so I think that's big to have that home court advantage. And I think this group, our freshmen, continue to grow and get better, and they're gaining more and more time on the court because of that. And so I feel like I have all the MEC girls. So I have 2 Lafayette girls, Talicia Bird and Honor Mannings. Then I have Kayana Kramer from Chillicothe, and those 3 freshmen have really stepped up their game big time for us. And so just being able to watch your freshmen grow and being able to see their confidence, it's like it happens right after Christmas break. Their confidence level increases. They don't play like freshmen anymore. They can step on the floor and contribute, and aren't afraid to contribute, I guess. So, our goal obviously is to get that region title won. If we do win the region, we'll be hosting on March 8th. We'll be hosting that district game against the Arkansas region winner. So again, that's a huge home court advantage that we hope to have. And the winner of that game would advance to the national tournament. So I really honestly don't think there's a chance that we'll get an at-large bid this year like we did last year, simply because we've played an extremely tough schedule. But Region 6, which is out of Kansas, has 3 teams ranked higher than us right now. A couple Illinois schools are ranked higher. So only one Kansas team is going to make it. Only one Illinois team. I think maybe 2 Illinois teams get in. So the way we sit right now, we probably won't get an at-large bid, so we're going to have to win our way there.
Talk about that national tournament, what that experience is like for the girls, for you as a coach, having done it now a few times.
Once you get there, I'll be honest, especially when you get there back-to-back years, then it's just a must. We got to get there again. It's that kind of greedy feeling that you want to be part of that again. A couple years ago, they had it at Port Huron, Michigan, and it was phenomenal. The right on the Great Lakes, it was beautiful. Their whole city bought into it. They had signs all over the place, and they really did a phenomenal job of hosting that region tournament and had a great little banquet dinner ahead of it to kick it off, had a dance party for the girls. I mean, it was just really a lot of fun. And so we went up there 2 years. Last year, it was in Joplin, Missouri, which, when you're from Missouri and you don't get to make a out-of-state trip, I guess, but it was a lot of fun in Joplin. It's just a great bonding experience, I think, for the team. And you get to be down there with the best of the best. And so these girls get to meet other girls from other teams because there's usually about 3 or 4 teams at the same hotel. And so you get to know those teams, you get to cheer for those teams, you get to go watch a lot of basketball the whole week. And so it's fun, it's competitive. We have placed 7th and 8th. Last year we didn't get in to the Saturday game to place. And so, our goal is to continue to break into Saturday and make it that far, eventually probably getting, hopefully, to the game that matters, the championship game.
It's really a lot of fun to hear these stories and to understand that this, we see on TV the NCAA March Madness, and we see the women's tournament and how that has exploded and become a bigger thing. And the Final Four for the women is huge. I mean, women's sports is exploding all over the place.
It is.
And that you guys are kind of in that lane has got to be a good feeling to see the sport grow.
It is. It's absolutely so much fun that, even just to hear our girls every day come in and talk about the game last night, whatever game they're watching, South Carolina or Iowa or, LSU, whoever they're watching. And so I think women's basketball is, what Caitlin Clark did for women's basketball in the last few years has been incredible. And I think it's just going to continue to grow and grow in popularity.
We can see it. In fact, when Patrick Mahomes starts talking about a WNBA team.
Yes, wouldn't that be great?
In Kansas City, it would be excellent. And
in fact, when I also heard that NCMC was adding flag football.
We are. For
women's sports, that you could have applied and got that job, but then you and Wes could have both coached football on your resumes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd have had him. He'd had to help me out.
Yeah, right. He would have found his way on the field.
So, based on what I've looked at, you're in at least 4 Hall of Fames. Okay, Pitt State Hall of Fame in 2008, North Central Missouri Hall of Fame with your experience as an assistant coach in 06-07, and then your team from 13-14 being in the Hall of Fame. Kearney High School Hall of Fame in 2017, and the MIAA Athletic Hall of Fame, where you went in with Gene Iba.
Yes.
I mean,
what a wonderful guy.
So cool.
Yeah, he was our men's coach. Coach Iba was our men's coach at Pitt State. Just a great guy with a great basketball mind and would talk basketball with us all the time. And so it was fun to be at Pittsburg State when he was there and to watch what he did with our men's program down there.
So if you had an ability to put something on the plaque for Jenni Miller Croy, what might you put on that? What kind of player were you, and what did you take the most pride in about your game?
I mean, what kind of player was I? I was a shooter. Honestly, My college coach would tell you I was not a defender. He would say I played Olay defense is what he called it. So, but, I was a shooter when I was on the floor. Never saw a shot I probably didn't like. But at the same time, I wasn't an overshooter. I shared the ball as well and just loved playing the game with the teammates that I got to play with, to be honest. And so whether it be high school or college, it was very rewarding for me my whole way through. And I'm a true believer, you get in or you get out what you put in, and it takes a lot of time, I think, to grow your game. When I went to college, I was, Kearney was a small town back then. I was just a small town girl and didn't know what it took to get myself open. And I had to study a lot of film. My grad assistants worked with me on how to get myself open to get shots. And so I had to work at it. I wasn't the most athletic kid in the world I wasn't the Macy Moore that could just step on a court, catch a ball and make it happen. I had to absolutely work.
Pays off. So before we go, brag a little bit about your family and your developing coaching tree there. I mean, first of all, we had Wes in the studio last fall as a retired football coach, and he talked about football and had so much fun talking about football. 2 days later, we found out he was coaching football again.
Right. He can't stay away.
I'm sorry if we had something to do with that. But anyway, Lathan Croy is the new head women's golf coach at Northwest Missouri State University.
He is.
Pretty
And
cool.
So it is awesome. And again, what an opportunity for him. He actually, I went up to Andy. I was watching Kendi Eaton, who played for me from Mound City. She played at Northwest Missouri State, went over to watch her play at Missouri Western. After the game, went to go say hi to Kendi, was waiting in the hallway for her to come out. And Andy Peterson was standing there, and he's the athletic director at Northwest Missouri State. And I just said, hey, my son's at Northwest, would love to help out with women's golf. And he was like, oh, tell him to come to my office tomorrow. And so I said, hey, Lath, go to Andy's office, and you never know. And scared to death, he did the next day, and Andy put him on as a student assistant. He was a student assistant till he graduated, and then he got the grad assistant job, was a grad assistant for 2 years, and then their new president came in and said, we need a full-time head coach. And so he got that opportunity. So he's excited to have his first season here coming up. I think they tee off maybe next weekend or soon. And so he coaches a lot. He's very patient, and he coaches a lot as he was coached by Travis Mullenix here. He has a lot of little one-liners he uses to get him focused. And he's a true teacher of the game. And he had a girl transfer in from a D1, and the letter she wrote him about how he instilled the love of the game back to her. I told him, I said, Lathan, those are few and far between, and that's why we do what we do.
That's great. And I've had the pleasure of jumping on a yellow bus with Salem this past year as she was the middle school girls basketball coach and did a great job. And your daughter, I've got to see her play quite a bit this year on a good team. And so there's a lot of sports in your family.
There is. I mean, that's who we are, I guess.
Yeah.
Salem was so excited to do the middle school job, and it was fun to watch her on the sideline. I think she's a good combination of her dad and myself, a little fiery like her dad, can reel it in at times when needed. But she really gets after her girls and challenges them. And I think they saw improvement as the year went on because of that. So that's fun. And then, our youngest is senior in high school this year. And so it's been fun to watch their team. They have a really good team right now at Trenton High School. And it's been fun to watch that group of girls grow and progress as they have.
We are going to wind this part up. I want to thank you, Jenni, for coming in. You've got a great career going. 325 will just be your next win. That's just on your way to some other huge number. And it's not the number, it's the teams that you're building and the culture that you're instilling and quality of that program.
Thank you.
And just, it's impressive. And to tack that on to the fabulous achievements that you had as a player, it's a great thing. And all your honors are well-deserved.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And like you just said, coaching is a lot about relationships, and you build so many relationships through the years. And so when you can look out and see the success that your former players have in their careers and in their life, it makes what you do worthwhile.
It's great. Chris, I'm declaring that we're off the bubble. Although our game has gone long, So
overtime.
So the other game, like the Missouri 8:00 game, which never starts, you never see the first 10 minutes of a Missouri game because Florida and Georgia are playing a game that goes into overtime.
The next podcast will start on ESPNU, and then we'll switch you over to ESPN when this podcast is over.
Exactly. If you can log into your ESPN app, because you can't see it on the SEC network. And that's what we've done here with our timing, but that's what we do. We love the stories, and it was great to have Coach Webster drop in and tell us some stories, and Jenni, get to know her better, and because she is kind of stoic on the sideline a little bit, and so it's kind of fun to get to know what's going on behind the scenes with her. So I think we've earned a higher seat, and I think we're going to play somewhere closer to home after that interview.
I think we even get a bye.
Get a bye. Okay. Yeah. We want to thank Jenni Croy for taking time out to come into Show Me Sports Legacy studio, and continued success. Keep filling those record books up. So we've got some new added features for listener engagement. A link on the description of each episode on Spotify, on Apple, can be clicked, and you can reach our fan mail page of our website.
Be gentle, people. Be gentle.
It's called fan mail. It's not, like a forum where we get to people just get to weigh in with anything. It's not a complaint center. It's not a crisis hotline. Let's just say that, although you may feel that that's where we should be, that we're a hot mess sometimes. But we're in the positivity business, but we can certainly learn some things to get better. One of those things is compelling storylines and guests like we had tonight. So feedback about what you like or what you'd like to see, or somebody that that we ought to be talking to, would be great. We'd love to have that. I'll post those links on my Facebook post as well and get those to you. So anybody who sees that stuff can just jump on and say, hey, I know this guy and he's got a great story, or did you know so-and-so has retired in this community and was in such and such a Hall of Fame. So we like that kind of thing, because this is our 18th episode.
Wow, we're an adult now.
I mean, we are. Adult. Oh, my gosh. So, but the fact is, when you start one of these, you start and you have 20 good ideas if you're thinking ahead, because you got a plan for some success. And we have gone over, we're at almost 108 downloads per episode now. And while that is not in anybody's territory that that's famous, the reality is, out of 4 million podcasts, only about 1 million of them have over 100 listeners per episode. So we're in the top quarter. It's kind of like if you get in that ESPN March Madness bracket and you're in the top 30, 40, 50,000, you
celebrate. Time to celebrate.
Feel like you're winning.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's all good. And in the last episode of 2024, we did a kind of a recap, and we thanked some people that had helped us along the way. And this is kind of funny. I went to Dallas, and my buddy Dan Harmon is down there, and he goes, why didn't you mention me on your podcast? I mean, I'm your Dallas, Texas listener.
So people want to name drop now. That's a good sign.
It is a good sign.
That's right.
So he was disappointed, and I told him that he's at least half of our Dallas fan club. There's a couple in Dallas, and he had listened to every episode. So good on you, Dan, and good luck.
Thank you, Dan.
Favorite Dallas Stars in this NHL season.
Now let's not get carried away.
Dallas Star fan. Okay, that's for Dan. Okay, so we had fun tonight, and we'll keep it rolling. You got anything to say before I sign us out of here?
It's baseball season. You said one of your favorite days of the year is pitchers and catchers report, and I keep seeing those Royals pitchers and catchers warming up, so we're getting close.
Absolutely. And we are looking forward to that, and we'll transition. We got a lot of basketball still to talk about, but we'll transition to that as we get into spring. And I just want to thank everyone for listening to Show Me Sports Legacies.